What's going on, y'all? I know this came out a while ago, probably like last week or whatever, and I was hyped at first to watch it because we talking about a cultural thing. I don't know, not too many black folks, no matter what age you are. Well, probably this if you're of this generation, this current generation, I should say. You probably don't really know much about FreakNik. You probably heard it, but you don't know much about it. Um, I will say this. I was hyped about it, and I actually watched it. I don't know, as soon as I found out the date, and then I even tweeted when the show was coming on or whatever, and I never got to it. I just now get into it. It was an hour and 22 minutes. It's on Hulu. It's called FreakNik. The Wildest Party Never Told. And honestly, they didn't really tell us anything. I really thought that they were going to go more in depth than what they did. I thought this was going to be a well balanced documentary about FreakNik. You know what I'm saying? And FreakNik is part of, the culture down south, whatever. It's part of history, okay? African American history, for real. Because just the significance of it and how big it got, right? I know when it first came out that they were going to do this documentary, a lot of people had things to say, and that was troubling to me as well, because the main thing that people were saying was, oh, y'all mama's gonna be caught up on here looking like this, looking like hoes, looking like freaks, looking like this and all this, showing that. And it was all towards the women. Oh, you gonna see this and you gonna see that. I know y'all finna be embarrassed or whatever that y'all mamas on here, y'all aunties and all this stuff. And I'm like, dang. What about the men? Okay, because let's be real. It was both of y'all down there. It was men and women down there cutting up. All right. Some had wanted advances and some had unwanted advances. Okay. But everybody was down there cutting up. And it just bothered me the way that everybody, well, for the majority of people, and we know what type of people those were, that were just instantly going in on the women who were down there. And it's like, if no women was down there, 9 out of 10, FreakNik wouldn't happen. Okay, so why are we just coming down on the women instead of just coming down on everybody who was there cutting up, okay, and being out of control, having fun, being out of control, or doing the most? You know what I'm saying? Or crossing lines and boundaries, because it was on both. It was on both sexes. All right, but I finally got to it, and y'all know me. Let me tell you something. And if you don't know me, here it is, girl. FreakNik happened down in Atlanta, all right? I am 37 years old. FreakNik was before my adult time, okay? When FreakNik started, it started. The only thing that I really learned about this FreakNik or whatever from this documentary or whatever is that it did not start in the 90s. It started in the 80s, the early 80s. And I said, girl, what? And I know it started on the HBCU college campus. It was like Spelman, the ACU, and all that stuff, right? That's Spelman, Clark, Morehouse, Mooresburg, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? The HBCU, ACU down south in Georgia, right? My thing is this: I had no idea. This is probably the only thing that I learned. They had no idea that it started off in 1980. I think, and it could be a little bit earlier, but for sure they said 1983. And basically it was for, when the kids go on spring break or whatever, and some of the kids go home, some can't afford to go home, so they staying back at the school, which kind of makes sense in a sense, because, everybody ain't got money to go home for a couple of days and then to come back. You know what I'm saying? So they basically was like, the where the word came from, the name came from, because Lashik came out, or Chic the Freak, they came out with the song Freak Out. Dun, 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 that song, right? And they took Freak from that, and Freak back then, and what they was thinking about it and what it was talking about in the song, it was not a negative connotation. It was not a raunchy or a vulgar connotation or whatever meaning to it. And then they put Nick at the end of it, meaning picnic, okay? But they said, you know, because what we know what picnic means now, maybe we're going to talk about it, call it something else, but it had a different meaning back then, right? It was a positive thing that turned into a negative thing that we see happen all the time, okay? And it's unfortunate because when you look at it, I will say the documentary wasn't bad, but again, like I said, I just wanted it to go more in depth about, give it equal, like you gave history of Atlanta. They gave history of some people who had shops in Atlanta, you know, talking about Eric Sermon and his, what is it, rim shop that became famous because a lot of, you know, famous people started showing up, going to the studios and all of that stuff. And it was in the area where FreakNik was happening. Talking about how JD, Jermaine Dupri, you know, he came and he rose through FreakNik, okay? Because he was one of the most prominent people down there in Atlanta. And this was during a time where Atlanta was fighting for trying to have their place and their spot in music, hip hop, all of that. You know what I'm saying? Especially hip hop. And then you get JD who came through and just stormed, okay? And shook things up or whatever. So, you know, JD, I can understand why he got his props because I'm pretty sure a lot of his music was being played and artists was being played doing FreakNik or whatever. And so, understandable. He is a legend, all right? And I don't feel like, I know people have talked about him, but I really feel like Jermaine Dupri do not get the credit that he deserves, like he fully deserves, okay? Because he really did a good thing. He did a good thing. And the way that he not only just produces and revives careers, like he did give us Crisscross, he did give us Escape, you know, we still got Candy to this day. We got Escape going on tour, you know what I'm saying? And they're still in demand, you know. He gave us the Brat. The Brat, even though she not making music, she's still out there. We still know of her. You know, I don't know if we would know of these people the way that we know them now if it wasn't for Jermaine Dupri. All right. And let's not talk about, at this point, I really feel like you cannot talk about Jermaine Dupri without discussing how he revived and helped bring back to number one Mariah the Carey, okay? Like that Emancipation of Mimi equals MC School. Like, listen, he woke it up. We Belong Together, he woke it up. And I got all of Mariah. When I started doing my vinyls, talking about Mariah, let's take a venture, a little curve for a minute. Because when I started buying my vinyls, you know, she was one of the first artists that I said I have to get all of her stuff. And I got all of her records on vinyls. Girl, and I just got my Emancipation. I love that. I love just about every Mariah Carey album. But when Emancipation came out, Emancipation Mimi, that is my Okay, it's like that, y'all. Girl, that is my stuff. The whole album goes. That is a no-skip album for me. And most of Mariah Carey stuff is like that. And I thank JD for coming through, you know, and working his magic and doing what he got to do, okay? He did that. He gave us Usher's Confession, you know, a lot of stuff, right? So, of course, like, if you think of Atlanta, you have to think of Jermaine Dupri, which I guess connects to FreakNik, okay? But at the same time, it's like, you have something that started off for the kids that was at the colleges who could not afford to go home or didn't want to go home during spring break because it was just 1 week, you know? And then they just came together, had a picnic, had a fun time, you know, and it was just a college thing, right? Positivity, everybody was having good times, laughter, a communionship, you know what I'm saying, coming together, camaraderie, all of that. Nothing bad, nothing negative, eating food, drinking, catching up. But then all of a sudden, when it gets mainstream a little bit, you get people catching on to what's happening in the early 90s or whatnot, and then you get rappers involved like Luke, okay? And then you want to get people that want to say, well, if your name is FreakNik, where's the freak in the nick? Okay, that's what we want. We want the freaks. Where's the freaks at? You know, and that's when things start getting out of hand. Okay, um, the people coming through and just the debauchery, the debauchery. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. Listen, it took for me to get older to know and realize that, yeah, some things probably happened that shouldn't happen, or that most likely did happen that should not have happened. But when you're young and you're seeing people, especially like you so used to seeing um we're gonna say white crowds getting together, they're doing their things and they're having fun, and you know, it is what it is, but where's the space for us, and where can we do the same thing but in our way, right? And so once you see something like that come together, it's like, damn, I really want to go. I ain't gonna lie, I wanted to go to FreakNik, and I was so mad that I could not go to FreakNik because I was not old enough to go to FreakNik. And so as I got older and I just looked at it, I was just like, damn, I wish I could have been around or old enough to go at that time. But I just wasn't able to. Like us millennial babies, we wasn't able to because we were still kids. We was kids, we was teenagers or whatever. And we just wasn't, no, we was kids in 1990s. Yeah, we was 90 babies. We were born in the 80s, but we was 80s babies, but 90 kids, okay? 2000 teens, all right? And that's just what it was. We wasn't down there. And if you was down there some way, somehow, and you was around my age, baby, why was you down there? And whoever was your mama at? She probably was down there too. No shade, no shade. I mean, I ain't judging. I ain't judging. But baby, I wanted to go out there and shake a little something, whatever. And not necessarily, it ain't nothing about just shaking ass, at least for me. It's just that I wanted to be around all of that, you know, just taking in. I'm telling you, I wanted to go to a HBCU. When I was going to the colleges and stuff, I would never forget, like, I was one of those kids that was like exceptional, okay, in school. I don't even remember what the program was, but the Chicago Sun-Times came down to my house and they did a little special on me. I was in the newspaper, whatever. They was asking about, you know, what school did I want to go to when cause I wasn't even in high school yet. I was about to go to high school. It was because I was going into a magnet program, you know what I'm saying? But I think I was going into 8th grade, you know what I'm saying? But I was at a magnet program and I was in a high school, okay? At that time, I think it was Kenwood. Yep, it was Kenwood. Girl, I got some stories to tell you about that one, and I'm pretty sure y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you know, you know. Yeah, I told them, listen, I want to go to Spelman College. That was my college. I wanted to go. We put that up in the newspaper. You know, my mom said, hell no. And then when I got really into school, when I got into high school and I started learning more, I wanted to go to Clark Atlanta. I really had my heart set on going to Clark Atlanta University, baby girl. And my mama said, girl, you ain't going out of the state. You are not going out the state. I said, okay, well, can I go to what is it? The University of Illinois, you know, down there in Champaign. If you're from Chicago, you know which one I'm talking about. Urbana or Champaign, one of those. I wanted to go to either one of those or Northwestern and all that. She said no. Girl, I said, well, where can I go? I ended up going to DePaul University, okay, just because it was still up in the city. And I mean, it kind of worked out a little bit because I could commute. I didn't have to, you know, be in the dorms or whatever. If they had dorms, what they do. I didn't live on campus. My job was right across the street because I worked downtown. And because I went to the business school eventually because I had to change majors, it worked out because my job was right across the street from it. So that was convenient, right? But at the same time, I really feel like I got cheated a little bit. And I know it's been a debate about going to a PWI and to a HBCU. And I really feel like, I know it's pros and cons for both sides. Educational wise, yes, I did get a good education from DePaul University. But social wise, it absolutely did nothing for me, okay? Because once again, I am at a place where I am the minority, you know? I am the minority. And you go from being in a place from grammar school to high school. You know, I went to Whitney Young Magnet School. We had a lot of different type of people there, but mostly it was black, you know? Oh, excuse me, black smart kids, okay? That's just what it was, you know? Everybody else was the minority. Go to grammar school, everything. I went to a black grammar school, okay? Grammar school, elementary school, whichever one you want to call it. Then I get to college, I am literally the minority, okay? You go to a classroom and it may be two other black people up in the classroom of 30 people, you know? And so you feel, and I'm just one of those people that I'm socially awkward, I'm introverted, and I feel like that could have played a role into the reason why I became as introverted as am now, plus a lot of other stuff and insecurities that I had as well. But when it came to college, like I couldn't connect to nobody. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what? And then the fact that I had to work, and I didn't stay on campus or whatever. So I didn't mingle with people like that. Because as soon as class over, I had to go to get to work. You know what I'm saying? You know, and it was just like, it did nothing for me socially, okay? And I'm looking at some of the people that was there, and I'm just like, in my mind, I just would never associate with people like that. Not saying that it was a bad thing or you're a bad person. I just couldn't see myself like, what do we have in common? You know what I'm saying? Something like that. Now, whereas if I was in an HBCU, baby, let me tell you something, I would be doing all this recording down in Georgia. I feel like I would still be down in Georgia at this point, you know? And you will get a totally different person. Okay, you will get me, but it'll probably be more extroverted because I feel like that would have forced me because I would be on my own, would have been on my own totally, right? Whereas when I was here, I could go home to my mom's, you know what I'm saying? That's where I went home. I went home to my mother before I could get my own place, you know, and I still had that security of them being around, you know, my family and all that stuff. Whereas if I was down in Georgia, I had to do everything for myself. I would have to do everything for myself. I would have to make a way for myself and all that. So that means I would have to talk. Okay. That means I would have to interact. That means I would have to socialize. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I really feel like I would have wowed out down there. I really would have. I really would have. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, sometimes I think about it and I get mad at my mama, but then again, it's like, it's okay. I'm okay. It is what it is. But I had my moments where I was like, damn, I really could have went to Clark Atlanta. You know, it is what it is. It is what it is, you know. Like, as I'm talking about it now, I'm getting in my feelings, okay? I'm getting dirty in my feelings. But, yeah, so you got that. And, again, you know, you get the people that come down there that aren't even students and didn't get out of control. It's all over the city and, you know, blocking up the traffic. And let me tell you something. When they start talking about that traffic being blocked and you can't go nowhere, that man said he got off of work. It took 3 hours to get to the highway just so he can get on the highway to go home. I said, girl, see, that shit would have pissed me off. Dad would have pissed me off right about now because one thing about it, two things for sure, I actually don't like crowds, okay? I do not like crowds. It reminds me like when I go to concerts over in the stadiums, okay? The way that it takes forever to get up out of the Soldier Field Stadium, woo, that'd be the only drawback. When I go to a concert up there, I'd be like thinking, do I really want to go through all this? And depending on who it is, yes, absolutely I do. I just have to suck it up. But baby, I know the feeling. That'd piss me off so bad. So bad. And then it came so bad to the point where some people that live there in Georgia, in Atlanta, around the area where FreakNik happened, they'll just leave the city. They'll leave the city until it's over with. You know, that's like the smartest thing because they want to have to deal with all of that, right? But, you know, it was nostalgic to see the styles and the evolution of the styles and everything from the 80s to the 90s, the early 90s to the mid 90s to the late 90s. And then when they was talking about the hairs for the women, how they always had the pumping up and the hair was always hard or whatever, you know, high, hard together and everything, not a hair out of place, okay? You know, talking about the clothing and everything. And how at one point, you could come and you could dress a certain way and nothing would happen to you. You know what I'm saying? But then it got out of hand when other people that was not even students started coming into the city from other places around the country, you know, and just doing the absolute most. I wish they would have went in more about how there were women being violated. You know, it felt like they only talked about it for a good 10 minutes, if that, out of the whole hour and 22-minute video documentary. You know what I'm saying? And I know we want to give the positive because when a lot of people these days probably think of FreakNik, they do probably think of negative stuff or debauchery or vulgarness or whatever, sexual stuff and all that. So yeah, it felt like let's talk about how positive it was before we talk about the negative, and let's not spend too much time on the negativity because we still want to talk about the positive and say that this was a great thing that happened in African American history or whatever, especially for Atlanta and how it put it on the map and all of that. Okay, but yes, the thing is, we have to be equal. We have to be fair when we want to talk about things. We have to talk about the good and we have to talk about the negative. And I feel like you need to devote just as much time to both. All right. It felt to me like they breezed over it because it didn't talk about, okay, yes, of course you're going to talk about it ending because of certain things that happened. But the way that they glossed over the fact that, women were being sexually assaulted, there were rapes happening, and the fact that they only mentioned like a couple as if that's all that happened, that kind of bothered me. Even though we know that wasn't, I'm pretty sure that wasn't their intention, but I was just like, that's why I said it irked me when the announcement for the documentary had came out on social media, and you had so many people, mostly men, excuse me, sinuses. I hope y'all can see me because the sun going down and I ain't got no light on today. I'll turn it on later. But basically, was just talking about how, the women was out here doing this and they was degrading themselves, and y'all gonna see y'all mama out here with her coochie out and her ass out and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, yes. Women were out there acting ass, all right? They was out there doing the most, but men was out there doing the same thing as well. Men were out there being predators. Some of y'all daddies was out there being predators, okay? Some of y'all uncles, some of y'all brothers, depending on what type of, or cousins, depending on what age you were out there being predators, all right? Can we talk about that? Like, if we gonna bring up one, we have to bring up both and be fair, like I keep saying. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it wasn't that deep to get into. But that lady that gave that story about how her friend got her purse stolen, and then the men came and tried to ripped her clothes off and all that, and was about to rape her, and it was like, trigger warning, I'm sorry for saying that. It was like at least 10 men or whatever, and the only reason why she did not get our word is because somebody hollered out police to break it up. And I said, wow. And now that messed her up bad to the point where she don't like to go around crowds, not necessarily crowds, but black crowds, because this is a place where I'm supposed to feel welcome and safe at. But this is what this black crowd of black men is what did this traumatic thing to me. You know what I'm saying? And you got to think about that. And I know when people go into stuff these days, especially back then, they probably weren't thinking about their actions and thinking about what can happen in the long term, because a lot of things we so short-term thinking. You know what I'm saying? We want to, girl, I don't care about what happened in the end. We happening what's going on right now. Okay, what's going on right now? We want to have fun, all right? But not thinking about the consequences that can happen and come up later on in life and how it can affect people, what you're doing, your actions and all of that. And you did have some men on there that was saying basically that they didn't want to come back or whatever because they felt like women were out here being violated. So I appreciate those and them for putting that in there. But yeah, I wish they would have dug a little bit deeper to the seediness of it. But overall, it's a good look. It's a good watch. It's real quick. Even though it's an hour and 22 minutes, because you get that much background and you're talking about the music and all that stuff, it kind of floats on by. It kind of floats on by at a decent pace. You know what I'm saying? What else was going on? Girl, they had Rashida up in there just talking. Rashida ain't had nothing else to do. Rashida ain't had nothing else to do. So yeah, they got her for the documentary, and then they got 21 Savage, and I was confused as to why they had 21 Savage. But then I remembered because they did show it. Once they showed it, I said, oh yes, he did have this. He had a birthday that was themed as FreakNik, so that's why he was in it. A birthday party, I should say. And they were trying to bring FreakNik back like in 2019 and all that stuff, but like they said, it will never be the same FreakNik that they had in that energy or whatever from when it initially started and when it was at its heyday. And what I liked about the FreakNik or what they was trying to do, This time was, giving education, having booths and stuff, whatever, dealing with different, you know, places that you can go to, and tools for the community and everything. And it wasn't just about being out there having a party or whatever. It's a lot of stuff that was being provided, as well as a concert and all that. But I will agree, it's not going to be the same if they ever really truly try to get FreakNik up off the ground again. It's never going to be the same the way that it was back then. And, people was up there talking about something because, they worried about social media. They worried about getting a get your gotcha moment. And, they got the video and all of this stuff. Baby, FreakNik is already happening right about now, okay? We don't need anything. I don't even think it will go, because anywhere you see all these people getting together in the same debauchery and the same mess happens all the time, and they post it online. No one cares these days. Okay? But imagine them all getting together right about now. Oh, girl, that'd be a mess. It'd be a mess. Baby, we miss some good stuff. The good parts, okay? Like, just because we was born at the wrong time. We was born at the right time. We was just young. You know what I'm saying? That's what I should say. We was just young and we couldn't participate. But I feel like, and I'm pretty sure some other people in different generations will probably feel this way too about their generation. I just feel like the millennials, the ones that are around my age, I really feel like we grew up at the right time. Like, we came along at the right time. Because it was, oh my God, it was just so much stuff that was going on back then that was just, wow. Okay? Let me ask y'all this. My 90 kids, y'all remember them little, what is it, them track suits, them jogger sets that they used to give us, by us? The one every time you walk, it swish, 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 swish with the pants and this jacket. Baby, we used to get a set every time we went to the circus, every time we went to go see Disney on Ice or whatever. Girl, every time. We had something big. One thing about it, my mama, she had us decked out. Okay? We may not have a lot of money, all right? But listen, it's one of those things where my kids ain't finna go outside looking a mess, okay? I may go outside looking a mess, but my kids ain't gonna go outside looking a mess. I said, you know what, mama, you got that. My mama really did that, okay? Because it wasn't until I was an adult to realize how much my mama was going through raising us, because she never let it show. You know what I'm saying? Parents that care about their kids and really take care of them, y'all the GOAT, okay? Y'all are the GOAT, Y'all really are. But, yeah, it was cute. Wasn't nothing deep, whatever. And I feel like I just wanted to get on here and talk about it. Goddamn, who was in my inbox? Eric. I think you CC Freak on here. Yeah, and I don't think just because I didn't respond that I didn't see it. I thought I responded, but I realized I didn't, and I literally just seen his thing. But no, yeah, he wanted me to talk. He wanted to know if I was going to talk about it, but I had already had intentions on talking about it. So here we are. I want y'all thoughts on this. Y'all know people that was out there. I had seen a couple of people that said they seen their mama up in the documentary, even though they weren't doing nothing bad. They seen their mamas up in the documentaries, or their daddies. We saw Cecil from Married to Madison, and he confirmed that was him. But see, he was in the very beginning when it was FreakNik, the regular FreakNik, and it was spelled FreakNik with a C, not a K. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Y'all tell me how y'all feel. If you haven't watched it and you need something to watch, it is Friday evening. So, it's on Hulu. It's called FreakNik, The Wildest Party Never Told. Yeah. And then we'll get back to regular movie corner, and I will see you guys later. Peace.